I've had folks that made 7 figures, way more than I make under me. Like that is by design. Like my job is to make sure that I'm setting my team up for success, but having to have that conversation with the women and tell them why I'm adjusting their base salaries was an important milestone as well, because it's those kind of reminders of like the way that we can show up in the roles that we have to make sure that we're part of the solution and not continuing to perpetuate the problem.
This is Full Stack Moms.
This is not a parenting podcast, nor a business podcast, but a place where we talk building careers in tech, raising kids at home, and making it work in public.
Rebecca Grimes, welcome to Full Stack Moms. How are you?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here today. I think I commented on your post. I was like, me, I want to be here. So excited that we got me on the calendar.
I love it. And we just want to start off getting to know you. So what can you tell us about your family?
Well, I currently live in my childhood home with my husband, Sean, my 2 kids, Olivia, who is 11, my son, George, is 10. We have an 18-month-old rescue that is a combination of a pit bull and a golden retriever. So that is a fun combination of never-ending chaos. I also have an 18-year-old dog that when we got the foster, that was going to be our transition dog. And it's been 18 months and Buster's still kicking. Buster's still kicking. My mother lives with me. That's how I ended up in my childhood home. After my father passed away, we moved in temporarily, and then it became clear that she was going to need more full-time help. And my brother actually lives with us as well. And so I have an in-house ecosystem of support.
That's a full house.
It's a full house.
Multi-generational. I love it.
Yes. And that's why I built out the backyard with my gazebo so that when I needed to get out of the house, I could go to my fully decorated backyard. It has a TV in it, a fan, bug zapper, screened-in netting, comfy couches.
Wow.
So that's my little, I got to get outside. You guys stay inside. I'll go outside. It's my escape.
Where are you based, Rebecca?
I am based in a suburb of Chicago, and I've been here for most of my life. So,
love it.
So cool. And what's the latest on Sean? I haven't talked to you for a while, so I know at the same time as everyone else.
It's fantastic. He was actually just recently promoted. He works for a hospital system. He's one of their system analysts, and he just completed a really big migration project for them across all of their hospital systems here in Chicago. So we're really excited about him. But the great part about his work and my work is that he has a clock in and a clock out. And so I can confidently rely on him to pick the kids up from jujitsu or theater, even if my evenings are busy and filled working.
And your evenings often are because you have a huge job. You're a CRO.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
So I work for a Portland-based company, SheerID. This is everything that combines my value ecosystem, the culture, as well as doing great work with great people. We are the back-end verification solution for many of the world's most admired brands. What that means is when you see an offer for a student discount program or a hometown heroes honoring program, we're the back end for that. And so I just was on site with one of my favorite retailers this week for a full 6-hour workshop, thinking about the year ahead and how we can support their growth. And they own the data. And that's one of the best parts. Mallory, you and I met working at Cheetah Digital together. And, in all of that ecosystem, I've been talking to the world's largest brands, but what we get the opportunity to do is work with them on how to curate the data that empowers them to drive these deeper emotional loyalty connections with their consumers. And that is right up my alley. I get thousands of emails a week from brands that I maybe shopped with once or never even shopped with. And this work that we do is really about connecting those two folks, the brand to a new customer, and then working through lifecycle marketing on how we take the data that we acquire and marry that with their purchase behavior to really drive a long time relationship with that consumer. And it's evidenced by all of the brands that we work with that this is something that works really well. So Before I go on, though, my role as CRO is a bit different than traditional CRO. So I actually own all of the revenue team. So I own sales, customer success, marketing, and revenue operations. And I sign up for the hard. This is my third role in this capacity of leading all of these accountable functions. The buck ultimately stops with me, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And we can get into the why behind that. But for me, just the idea that we just align without finger pointing around, you did this, we saw, we should have closed this deal, this was bad revenue. Like, we have zero tolerance for that in my organization. And what we have done over the last 2 years has just really unlocked the potential of this team to do great work together. And so we're one revenue team. And that actually extends beyond just the 80 folks that I'm responsible for, but into the rest of the organization as we operate as one revenue team. And it's my dream job, working for a female CEO that I've had the honor and privilege of working with before. And I've never been happier with the way that I have to show up every day and spend 10, 12, 14 hours, however long it takes to do the work that I do.
I love your story of evolving from CMO to CRO and truly being accountable for all of the revenue. I think that that's like the definition of what a CRO should be. I don't think that we always find that to be the case. And so you're one of my favorite case studies of making that come true. And it's even better because I know you love it. It's not that you're not like reluctant to manage CS. You're like, yeah, bring it to me. I want it to all flow and work.
Get my hands on it. Like, I want to understand the account strategy and how we're working alongside them to define success criteria. And I think, for me to have stepped into this job, it was really important for me to do these jobs separately before I assumed responsibility. And I think that that's where some companies just put marketing under the sales head, or put, sales under the marketing head. And then there's the CX island over here that's like, we need love too. We want to make sure you close good revenue that's going to be sticky and supports our GRR and NRR targets. And so for me, I can put any hat on at any given moment of time. I mean, my RevOps hat, I've gotten a little further. I've got a fantastic RevOps partner that I've worked with for years.
That's hard to keep that hat fresh, That's a hard one.
Every time I get an email or somebody catches me on an inbound call, I'm like, I don't actually make any of those decisions. You want to talk to Kara on my team, because I literally don't make any decisions. I just approve the decisions at the end. And I trust my team explicitly to make the right decisions. So
that's awesome. Rebecca, it's so interesting because I often I'm a fractional CMO, and I'm often hired by a CRO that is really just a salesperson. Every time. And I do solve some of the issue of they don't have marketing acumen. So they bring me in to help them show them what marketing should look like and how to build it out and to be the coach for the team and all this stuff. But it's interesting. Number one, very rare you see a CRO that's a woman. Number two, very rare you see the CMO to CRO transition. So this is is this something you always knew you wanted?
It isn't. No.
I'd love to, I'd love to hear how you got here.
So I started at a company, and they were going through this massive transformation of redefining the move from servicing one industry and needing to reinvent the entire company because it had become commoditized. And so I rebuilt the go-to-market strategy, the ICP, the target account list. I did all of that in my capacity of leading marketing. And then I saw this sales team not quite click. And we were cycling through AEs and leaders. And so about halfway through my 5 years with them, I said, I want to go figure this out. I really want to go figure this out. I talked to the newly hired sales leader, Jim, and we sat down over lunch, and I was like, I want to figure this out with you. I think that there's a bigger opportunity for us to grow faster. And I think my work is better done, sitting with you and learning the ropes, but also just thinking about the messaging and how it resonates. And I got over there and I had this oh no moment right at the beginning where I'm looking at the leads that are MQL, that are sales ready. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is an intern at one of the brands that we're targeting. This isn't an MQL. They're just trying to become smarter. And so I just had this moment where I'm like, our scoring model is wrong. Our level of the buyers that we've identified just are not the right ones. And we needed to put more more emphasis on the working relationship between our two teams and focus on quality over quantity. Because back then, we were talking, almost 15 years ago, that's when everybody was like, let me see the board metrics in a scorecard of like MQLs and website visitors and how many Twitter followers
Eyeballs.
we've grown by.
My favorite. That's my favorite one. How many
Throwback.
eyeballs?
And I was just like, oh my gosh, like there's so much noise that we're distracting the sales team with. And I was part of that problem. Like, and it wasn't until I moved into that capacity. And then I also had this very real realization that the way that we market ourselves externally is not the way that we talk to prospects. And that light bulb moment just really, like, I was a PMM, originally, like creating the content to go engage with these customers and buyers. And I wasn't close enough to the customer to really understand their language, the nuances, the different buyer personas, and the way that we needed to be thoughtful about engaging with them. So for me, I just fell in love with the challenge of taking somebody through the funnel and even pushing them into the funnel. That I built out my own BDR team. I had solutions consulting. I was just like, we are going to figure this out. And we started landing some of the world's most fantastic brands. And I was like, we got this figured out. And then I got pregnant and, things were starting to click. And, I am a cancer survivor. I had cancer when I was 30, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I am 19 years, coming up on 19 years in remission. So for me, like my 30s were spent like fighting for my life, and my friends were getting married and having kids. And so I didn't meet my partner until I was, mid 30s, my husband, Sean. And then we always knew that it was going to be challenging to have kids. So we immediately started IVF after we got married, and it was a difficult process. And the funny thing is I remember after a chemical pregnancy, which, as you know, is like you're pregnant for a minute, but it doesn't really like stick. And so your HCD shows like you might be pregnant, and then it like immediately drops off. And so after that, like I was just devastated. And I was talking to my doctor, and he was a very like matter of fact doctor, which is why I liked him. He was like, I'm going to tell you like it is. And he's like, I have one frozen embryo from all the attempts that we've done. That could be your baby. Why didn't we just put that in you? And I'm like, oh, because like they're frozen in time, and I might save that one so I could have more children. He's like, can we just get you one baby first? Like, let's just focus on the first baby. And that was my daughter, Olivia. That was in his freezer at Northwestern downtown. And I have the funniest story. So like, you're not supposed to, when you go through IVF, you're not supposed to like test at home. You're supposed to wait patiently and
everyone does
the blood tests. And so I'm like, I have no patience. Like, I just have no patience. And so I took the at-home pregnancy test. I didn't see anything. I like threw it across the room and started crying. My husband's like, it's not positive. You're testing too early. Like, they told you not to test at home. And he went and retrieved it, and it had like the slightest little line in it. And I was like, that's the meanest thing you're doing to me right now. And he's like, come look at this again. And I was like, then obsessively like, okay, now let's go get all the tests, like all the women who go through this. And it's like, we're going to go get the digital and all the things. And, and then like, well, it's not real because I had this before, but then it turned into not be, And so anyway, we got through that pregnancy. It was amazing. My daughter was stubborn and breech. And so I ended up in a C-section, and I was working all through my IVF. So I was going on the road, talking to brands and doing shots. And because when you do a frozen transfer, you also got to do these progesterone shots in your butt, and they're painful. And I'm on the road without my husband helping. And so I'm like stabbing myself every day for 4 months while I'm on the road until we got into the safe zone and I could announce that I was pregnant. It was this like fantastic moment. And then I was like, I am always going to be a leader inside an organization. And so like my husband and I always talk that like his job is massively important, as is mine. But if push came to shove and we needed, a parent to be at home, it would be him. And I love that we had that conversation early on, because he is not any less ambitious than me. But for me, this was really important. I never saw myself as a full-time stay-at-home mom. As much as I loved my children, there is this piece of me that needs to show up every day. I've never done fractional work. Like, I want the team. I want to sit here with a team and create future leaders in other organizations and watch them grow and get promoted and things like that. And so I had my daughter, and unfortunately at the time, the company only offered 6 weeks of 60% first week unpaid, like traditional. But I had a cesarean.
Like
and my doctor's like,
disability.
you're not. Yeah, my doctor's like, you're not going back to work after 6 weeks. Like, I won't even clear you till 8 weeks. And so I took those last 2 weeks as unpaid, like as the original of the conversation, and then got to a point where I'm like, I just got to go back to work. So I went back to work at 6 months or 6 weeks, and I started commuting downtown again on a train and pumping and doing all of the things that like there wasn't space for. I literally jumped right in. There was really no transition for me. And that came with a lot of guilt, quite honestly. Like those moments were so precious. And looking back, I probably would have done things differently. I probably would have taken the full 12 weeks, even if they were unpaid, and figured out how to do that. And the pumping put so much stress on me of trying to figure out how to work that into. And we didn't have like a real place at my job. And so it was like a closet in the beginning. And I'm like,
or in like the bathroom when they're like
there was no bathroom. Like, thankfully I didn't have to do that. But like people would go to the fridge to like grab a soda, and I'm in like the closet right next to it with the noise. And so anyway, I had my daughter, went back to work. We then closed the largest deal the company had ever seen. And I just was so conflicted because I'm like, I love this work that I do, but also I love being a mom and new mom. And but I also want another baby. Like there were all of these emotions that were going through my head. And so as soon as I got cleared, I showed up at the doctor's office with my daughter in tow. And I'm like, look what you did. I want another one. He was like, can we just like let your body heal and relax? I'm like, no, like the clock is ticking. I'm about to turn 40. My eggs are just getting older by the second. Like we have to do this. And,
we're decaying.
I know, like, right? Like, I'm losing them by the minute. Like, help me.
There's a finite amount of eggs. I feel like it's this crazy thing that like you're born with all of them and you don't get more. I'm like, I hate this.
I know. And like, we used the one that I had on ice. And so for me, I was like, it took so long to have my daughter. I'm like, we gotta get going again because, I don't have time. And so like, there was this race again, and I don't know what happened with that next cycle that I did, but I had 10 embryos that made it to day 3. And I never had any embryos that like felt like they were going to make it to day 5. And they were always like day 3 transfers because they weren't great eggs and embryos. And so when we got to day 5, they were like, we've still got 8. And I'm like, oh, what?
Your daughter gave them a pep talk while
I know.
She was in there.
She was
She's like, hey guys,
I need a
next
sibling.
time.
Get it going. But then it took on the first try, and we had my son George, and I had 14 months apart in diapers. And I was like, okay, I'm now 40. We're done. It's like I would love another one, but man, those two with a full-time job and traveling, they kept me on my toes. But that is the moment that I realized I needed to have a community. And so we, my in-laws, we moved them, retired my mother-in-law, and she took care of the kids. And then we eventually retired my mom, and she took care of the kids. We alternated between the houses. And then I was like, I need to create some friends so like they can get them to school and pick up from school. And then I found this amazing woman, Sarah, and her son and my kids are best friends. They're like siblings. And Sarah to this day is still the person I rely on that picks my kids up and takes them to school when I'm traveling, and they're in theater together. So she's like, I got theater this week just to take care of one less thing off my plate. And it's been like such a reminder that I can't do it all. I wish I could. I'd like to think that I can, but I physically can't. And I need to rely on people, and I need to be vulnerable with them and ask for help. And that's such a hard thing for me to do. Because I think just naturally, I would imagine both of you were like overachievers. Like, I got this.
Yeah.
I can be 5 places at once.
No,
That's not a problem.
Never us.
But for me, like, I just had to take that step back and be like, I need help, and who are going to be my people that are going to help me. And I was so fortunate to find them.
We say a lot that you can have it all, but maybe just not all at once. The other thing that you're making me think about is like, maybe you can have it all, but you can't do it all, period. And so you have to figure out who is going to help here. It's your partner, it's your parents, it's your neighbor. Like, you have to have that sort of village around you. And a couple of years ago, I actually wrote down every single person that was like in our village who like helped to take care of the boys. And it was 21 people on a regular basis.
I could probably
participating.
write out that same amount of humans that have helped me
Yeah,
easily.
it's so cool to just think it through. But I mean, I noticed that, Rebecca, from the moment that I met you, which is probably what, not 10 years ago, but
Probably
less
like
than 10 years ago.
eight, nine,
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. It just stood out to me that you had 2 kids and you were taking care of way more than just your 2 kids. Like your parents have supported you and helped with the childcare and stuff, but you have also been such a huge support for your parents and Sean's parents. And so that has stood out to me a lot as well. It's like she's not just a mom, she's like taking care of everybody. And the way that you manage your team, you're taking care of them too. So I've just always like that stuck with me, the way that I've seen you take care of just everybody that's in your circle. So you do a great job.
Thank you. It's also one of the reasons why I work so hard is because I had children later in life. The idea that I might be retiring when they're graduating from college is like, what? And then the idea that they might have to support me financially, which is, is just it's a different animal, right? Like I was able to buy a home when I was 21, 22. And so like I'm just intentional about the way that we think about retirement. And it's very different than I think my parents and even, my in-laws had opportunities to even think about retirement. And so for me, I just don't want there to be any burden on my children. And I want to make sure that they also have something. We own 2 homes. And so like I have 2 kids. What if you will each get a home? And if you want to live there, you can, or if you want to sell it, you can, or keep it as investment property. But like those things are just different priorities than I envisioned having to deal with at this chapter of my life. And the full circle moment of taking care of your parents. None of my, my in-laws and my mother, my dad's passed, but my mother, they're not driving. They're completely dependent on us for groceries and prescriptions and everything. And it just really taught me that like, I don't want to do this. Not that like I don't enjoy and have any regrets for the way that I need to show up, but it's hard. And I want to make the future generations have it easier, at least with my kids.
Yeah. It's so interesting. My parents are pretty young. And so I actually have like an interesting, people often ask me, they're like, oh, do your parents watch the kids? I'm like, my parents still work full time. So I actually have like the other end of like, my parents are 61. And it's funny, 61 is or 62. Sorry, guys, if you're listening. My dad told me he stopped listening just in case I wanted to fabricate stories so that I could be able to.
Oh my God.
He goes, for storytelling capabilities. He's like, because the best podcasters, they embellish. And he's like, I didn't want you to feel like sorry.
Oh,
and I was like, Dad, that's
amazing.
great.
Oh my God.
And he's like, but then I listened to a few episodes. He's like, you really do tell the truth, huh? I'm like, I do, Dad. Yeah, there's enough going on that you don't need to listen to me lie. I was like, yeah, I tell the truth. It was so funny. Shout out, Dad, if you've made it back. But it's very interesting because my dad's like, 61 now too is like, you hope that like people are living into their 80s and 90s, you hope, right? Like none of my grandparents made it to 80. And my dad's like, I kind of feel like I need to work for at least 10 years. He's like, what else would I do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like he feels very young still, right? Like that's an interesting, like, and they've had their own health things. They're doing really well now. But I think it's like an interesting scenarios, right? Where if you are taking care of your parents while you're taking care of your kids, or your parents are not at a place to be able to help take care of your kids. Like my mom was working 4 10s so that she could take one day off a week to watch my nieces. That's long days. Like for my mom and she was using all her vacation time to be able to watch the kids. But she loves it and she doesn't want to miss it, right? Like my mom had her last Thursday with my daughter this week because my daughter starts daycare on Monday. And she was like, I wouldn't ever want to miss this, right? Like I want to do this, but she didn't have the capacity to do it full time, right? Like there's no, and I never would ever expect that, right? And everyone just has such different circumstances coming into being a parent too. Like I think often like I wanted to have kids a little earlier than I did, and we struggled for a little while to have them. But I think I'm like financially, I was like in a way better spot when I ended up having them, right? Than if I had them at 30, which is what I wanted, right? 29, 30. And so benefits to that, right? So it's like, I don't know. It's like you kind of just have to trust the timing because it's what you got. It's what was given to you, you know?
And as much as we want to like control the circumstances and the situation, like it never works the way that we expect it to work. And, Mal, I remember you going and like, I've hired an au pair. She's going to come live with us. And I was like, tell me more. What does that mean? Do I need an au pair? And then I started researching it and I was like, well, how would the two grandmothers fit into the picture if I brought in an au pair? And I appreciated, Mallory, just like the way that you thought about like your different life chapters of like, I want to be a stay-at-home mom, but I also draw into like doing the work and so what is my circumstances need to be in order for me to have it all and do all the things. And it's not ever what you expect it to be at the beginning when you're like, this is what it's going to look like. But I do want to share something because Margaret's episode, she had mentioned and said, fact check me on this. And of course I was like, I'm going to go fact check you because if this is real, I'm even more pissed. And so she had talked about that the wage gap is punitive to women who have children and not for men. And in fact, men actually like benefit from becoming a parent financially. And I was like, that cannot be true. It is. So let me tell you what I found. So there is something called the motherhood penalty. And it says, according to a US Census Bureau, so this is real stats, mothers' earnings fall by an average of 12% in the 2 years surrounding a baby's birth. Other research suggests it drops by roughly 17% in the birth year, with first-time mothers experiencing a 30% drop in pay that can take up to 7 to 10 years to recover from.
That's the point, that one. Because you can understand that it would be if just in the year you're having a baby, you make less money. Okay. Like I could be like, all right, that makes sense. But the fact of how long it takes to recover that setback is so like the amount of women that probably would take the year off that they had a baby if they didn't take 10 years to get back to where they were.
Conversely, becoming a father often has a positive impact on a man's earning potential, with data suggesting that the average man earns a pay bump of 6 to 20% when he becomes a father.
Well, he's got mouths to feed, Rebecca.
Let's keep going. So
sorry, I had to.
I mean, that must be it. Like, how else would that explain that you get a bonus and more favorable wage adjustments after becoming a father? But then the last thing was there is no wage penalty. In fact, working fathers tend to take substantially more than men with no children under 18. So it is actually financially advantageous to have a family because the workplace will pay you more as a man. And punitive for women. I wanted to mention that because it's just disappointing. Like clearly it starts with women doing better in positions of authority and influence and leadership. I was fortunate that this did not impact me in that way, but it doesn't surprise me now that I've read the data and done more research on it that why this is real. We've got to be the one that like when there's a sick child, we've got to leave work early. And so we're seen as less reliable. And we're ones by default where we've got to like go do the extra things, doctor's appointments, just school registrations, parent teacher conferences. Like there's this natural assumption that women are going to do all of those things and they're going to be less reliable and we're going to get less productivity out of them. But the inverse is seen for men that they're like, good job, you're creating a family. Let me give you more money to make sure that your family is taken care of. Like and with the number of single mothers that are also then punitively affected by this without a partner who could counterbalance the penalty that mothers feel financially. Like the single mothers that get hit on both angles. I don't have a partner to replace some of that income, and it falls squarely on me to do all the work, and I'm getting lower pay at the same time than my male counterparts who have children. Like the whole thing just really surprised me, but reminded me of the work that is still to be done. And it honestly starts with all of us in positions of influence to say, this is not okay. I can share a story of when I started at an organization and I looked at the sales compensation of the folks on the team. And
little disparity going on there.
There was not a single female on the team that made the same as a male on the team with the same quota. And I was like, how does this happen? Well, men negotiate more frequently than women. And also, depending on if you're hiring somebody you worked for before, and I'm going to be more favorable as part of that, whatever that looks like. And so, right or wrong, I've adopted everybody gets paid the same. I don't care. You cannot negotiate this. When we're hiring a new salesperson, it is very clear. This is the base. This is the on-target earnings. These are the accelerators. The way that you get rewarded for overperformance is through things like me sponsoring you to go to an event, me investing in additional coaching to accelerate your growth and development. And so, I know that
sell more stuff, make more money.
Yes, sell more stuff,
make more money.
Also, build the accelerators. Endless accelerators. I've had folks that made 7 figures, way more than I make under me. Like, that is by design. Like, my job is to make sure that I'm setting my team up for success. But I also like having to have that conversation with the women and tell them why I'm adjusting their base salaries was an important milestone as well, because I was like, you need to ask these questions the next time you join an organization. Tell me about your compensation strategy. And so it's those kind of reminders of like the way that we can show up in the roles that we have to make sure that we're part of the solution and not continuing to perpetuate the problem.
Yeah, I love that you did that. Shannon, you made the joke of like, I have more mouths to feed, but I think that comes from a place of reality. And, I've seen just like little movies and stuff where the man walks into the boss's office and he's like, I've got a kid coming. I've got more mouths to feed. Like, I need a raise. And, I do think that it is also somewhat well known that men are more comfortable coming forward and asking for a raise. And women are more reactive and we're like hoping, we sit and wait and hope that we're going to get a raise. And I think that that's got to play a part in the way that this motherhood penalty and fatherhood bonus work together. And so it's not just informing people of the problem, and it's not just doing our part to equalize it where we can, but I think it's also trying to find ways to give women the confidence to do something and speak up and ask for things. And I'm not great at it either, but I think that has to be part of the solution to get past the trend of where we are.
I want to read you something that was sent to me today, May 1st. Ooh. So I have someone that works for me now. So that means they know how much money I make. They know how much I close on my deals. They know whatever. My business coaches are really big on like, Shannon, this is your market value. Like, and also when you work as fractional, you are a salesperson. That's what I am now. Like, I sell, right? Like, I have a sales process. I have all those things. I have a product I sell. It just happens to be me. The person that works for me has been like kind of watching my business for the last little bit. And she's been trying to solve like an operational issue I have, which is like everything because I'm a disaster. And so, which is why I need someone to work for me. And she sent me a Slack this morning that said she was like in a community trying to like figure out something and no one could figure it out. So she figured something out. It's like something operational. And she goes, you know what? I got all ballsy and asked for a raise. She like went to her boss and was like, because she gets paid through like an agency, right? So I'm not the one that pays her. She goes, and I got it. She goes,
go girl.
Way to be a badass influence to me. I've never had the courage before until I worked with you. And I think that sometimes it's hard to see your influence. Like, Rebecca, you have 80 people that work directly for you right now. Like, that's not even the people that see you lead, that you've managed before. And I think every day about how grateful I am to have gotten to this point in my career where I have real influence on the way that people are going to build their lives. Like, whether I like it or not, like, you can't ignore it, right? Like, it is true. And I think Margaret said this in our last episode. It's really hard to do something until you see it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've actually been in organizations where I was open about how much money I made and found out that someone else with the same title as me made $60,000 less than me because I negotiated on my way in and they did not. And that told me a lot about the values of the organization. I was like, you didn't right size that when I came in and reset the market.
Yeah.
Like what I did is I reset the market, right? I said like now directors are worth X, right? Because that's what it took to get me. So she should also be paid that, right? And I think there's something where I would like to say I'm not good at it. I'm actually a pain in the ass about it. I am like very, but also when you work
to
on
say you're
it
good at
okay.
things.
Yes.
I'm a brat. I'm a brat about it because I think there is, and it's not for me. It's like, but also sometimes there's this thing where people want to negotiate forever. And it's like, guys, this is the market rate for this role. Like we pay this role this because that's what the market has established. Like, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're paid differently, it's a different job, right? That's probably what you'd have to say, Rebecca. If like the comp structure is different, then you're not an AE anymore. You're, I don't know, an AM or you're a senior AE. Like, and this is what that job comes with, right? And trying to take the emotion out of it, of like, not just because you asked, but because this is the market rate for what this job is, right? Like you were saying, Rebecca, about your retirement. Like you take 10 years to make back what you were making 10 years ago. That's 10 years of compound interest you don't have, right? So it's a system that needs yelling at, which is what I do all the time.
Well, I mean, it isn't just about like the package, like it's the total package. Like I left an organization and one of my peers left around the same time as me. And he's like, what are you doing with your options? And I was like, well, I'm unclear. He had way more options than me and I was hired before him. And I was like, oh, how did I let
Don't
that
you just
happen?
sometimes, wouldn't you sometimes rather not know?
100%.
Every once in a while.
I 100% would have rather not know in that very moment where I was like, what? Because we had both been
I'm bad about options.
We had been promoted. And so I was like, well, surely that would have been the time that they would have equalized this. And the answer was no. And I was just like, oh. And again, like it just reminds me. And I recently was working with somebody on just a colleague, not even a colleague, because I hadn't worked together before, a professional networking thing that turned into the beginnings of a friendship. She was like, can you help me figure out how to negotiate this job? And I was like, let me have it. What do you got? What's on the table? And I helped her write the email back to them. And she got everything she asked for. And I was like, they always were going to do that if you asked for it. And you're in sales and they're expecting you to negotiate. And so when you don't, that's actually their first impression of you is that you don't know how to negotiate. And it's almost a bit of a test, which is why I'm a big believer in transparency. We're not playing games here. Like, I don't want to do any of that. Like, here's what's available to you. Do you want to join the team?
We're grown-ups. I'm tired.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is what we're offering you. But it's again a good reminder that like it takes a village, and I've now taught her, and now she's going to go teach 10 people, and there's this ripple effect when we put in the time, and it maybe took me like I don't know, a couple of calls, email draft, like maybe I invested like a whole hour in helping and supporting her. This woman that I just met like 4 weeks earlier, something like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, now she's empowered to go do that again. And like, that is the work that also we have to carry around as part of our mental load is, well, at least I do, because I want to change this dynamic for when my daughter's out there, that this isn't a thing that we're talking about anymore.
Yeah. That's so great. I'm super grateful. I don't talk about my employer that often, but I work at Zipline, and we recently went through a bit of the like annual review process. And as part of that, our team does analyze every single person's comp and their comp band and the trends and what is the market rate for the people who work here. And so they've got like a desired place where they want everybody to be within the band. And then they update the band every single year. And this is a tangent, but this is the first time we've seen some of the bands come down this year. And so it's, AI related, of course, and all kinds of crazy crazy situations going on in the world, but I am just very grateful that they take the time to do that because some employers literally never do. And it could be a tiny bit of ignorance or something. But then there are some employers who they do know the market rates and they're not going to change things to match them. And that's intentional. And, it's just so important to figure out who you're signing up to work for. So important.
We are literally in that exact same process. We do compa ratio as our benchmark, and we've got targets for our folks, and we do job classification. We take it very seriously here. Again, top down, HR down, like this is what we do. And like there are several individuals on my team that are getting market adjustments in addition to merit because the market's shifted, and I would rather retain them now than desperation at the tail end of like, what was the offer? What if I counter that for you? When people feel seen and valued, they're loyal forever. And, I am very blessed that I have individuals that I have worked with 2, 3, 4 times at different companies. There's 8 folks at my current company that I'd worked with before. And like, I think that like, when you think about what that means when you show up in that way, there is a loyalty that isn't even about like, I like you as a human. It is that I trust that you will do right by me as an individual inside your organization. And not a lot of companies do this. I can tell you, I've worked in dozens of companies where basically it was like, you get a 3% pool, figure it out for your team. I don't care who's above and below. I'm not going to give you that research. Like I have everything about my entire team. And we talk about equitable. If you're in the same job role, how do we close those gaps if there are any gaps? And it is, in fact, every company I've worked at, like new people come in at the market rate and your legacy folks stay at the rate that they were at when they joined the organization. And those are the ones that leave because they're going to find somebody who's going to pay them current market rate instead of you just doing the work and paying them current market rate within your organization. And if that means somebody's getting a 15% raise, they're getting a 15% raise because better for that than the opportunity cost of replacing them and losing a fantastic employee. Like I'm very fortunate that I work with a fantastic leader who sets the tone for that. And, I think that's why we follow people. It's because they align on values that matter to you.
And you are a person that people follow, which is great. Says a lot about you.
That means a lot. It says a lot about you that people want to continue working for you.
And I am very fortunate that with every organization, I am introduced to fantastic new talent that become part of my community, my professional community. And I don't hire them by design. Like if there is an opportunity and they are qualified, I encourage them to be considered as part of this process. And my referrals don't actually get any preferential treatment. I empower my hiring managers. We recently last year hired Lance, our North America head of sales, and we had worked together at a company before. And I was like, someday I want to work with him again. And when the opportunity opened up on the team, I was like, you should toss your head in the ring. And he was like, okay. And then I stayed out of it. Wasn't my decision. I needed the entire company to say he was the right hire. I neutrally stayed out of it because I was like, you get a leg up because I've opened a door for you, but that doesn't guarantee that you're going to have a place on the team. You need to demonstrate that this is the right role for you. And I've loved working with him in our next chapter together. So
this conversation flew by.
I know. I just looked up and was like, whoa, I know. All right, we got to do our save of the week.
We got to do our save of the week. Yeah. Rebecca, you listened already, so you're probably familiar with this part, right?
I am.
Okay, wonderful. Shannon, do you have something you want to go first?
Sure. So my save of the week is we are going through a lot of transitions in the current household. My 2-year-old went from toddler to preschool 2 days ago. And my youngest is starting daycare on Monday. My save of the week actually is kind of silly. So my son is moving from one classroom to another. And they've been doing a really good job at his daycare of like taking him in for an hour each day or like having him do snack in there, having him play outside. It's been like a 4 or 5 week process. But yesterday was his first like real full day. Yeah, they're doing an excellent job. The save of the week is that I gave him a backpack for the first time. So he doesn't usually have a backpack at school at daycare because they just like leave their stuff there. But I was like, I feel like this is kind of a big day. I want him to feel like there's some transition happening, like not to scare him, but to feel. And so I said, I can carry your backpack. He goes, I'm going to carry it. Like, I want to carry it. And if you saw, Mallory saw my Instagram story, but he's carrying this ginormous backpack. Like, it's the size of his entire body. And it has like 4 things in it. It has like clothes in it because you have to bring clothes because they'll get messy. Yeah. And he carried it in and put it in his cubby. And he looked at me and he said, bye, mommy. And he like ran over to have breakfast. And it was, it was just like a moment where I was like really proud to be his mom. You know, I was like, this kid is really, he's building the skills. He is like resilient and he is navigating change. And he carried a backpack for the first time today. And it felt very, his dinosaur backpack. So that was our little save of the week, was the dinosaur backpack that is far too large for my 2-year-old's back.
Shannon, that must be you and your husband just setting him up for transitions and life changes, because it is a constant world of change. Like, how fantastic that is. I mean, I was the one that was crying. Like, when my daughters went to school, I was like, bye. And she just ran off. And I was like, what? No, not even a final home right now. Okay, bye. I'll see you later.
Yeah, transitions have been hard for him. We'd been hot and cold on like drop off, depending on the time of. But he's been in daycare since he was 5 months old, so like it's not new. But this was not easy, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I think, I was very, very proud, and I'm hopeful that the backpacks saved him. So,
what a good little guy.
I know.
All right, Rebecca, what saved you this week?
I've been busy traveling. I have pretty much a lot of. Like, I had a lull between Christmas and the beginning of the year, and we have a board meeting coming up in May later this month, and we always turn it into like an extended executive team meeting. It also happens to be the last day, like days of school at my daughter's final 5th grade year. And so I had already made an accommodation with the team, and I said, can we come in on Sunday night so we can get a full day on Monday so I can leave midday on Wednesday and be back in time for field day on Thursday? Because I've done it every year. I'm prioritize it as a thing I have to do. I've got to go be the crazy mom, jumping in and doing the rope pull with the kids. Like, that is me. Water balloon toss, who wants to be with me? Because I'm actually going to hit you with a water balloon. I'm not going to try to catch it. Like, that is me. My son goes to the same school, so I run back and forth between their 2 classrooms. And then the calendar came out, and it's Wednesday this year instead of Thursday. And I texted my boss, and I was like, I know you've already been more than accommodating for this week. And the answer can be no. But I want to come home on the red eye on Tuesday night, which means I'll miss Wednesday's half day. I can do it remotely after I'm done and they're 2 hours behind me. So I'm like, I'll probably wrap up around 11, which is 9 your time. I'll join in as soon as I can. She goes, you're going to be at field day. Go change your flight. And like, it wasn't even a question. And I was prepared for a no. And then I told my daughter, and she was like, you're messing with me. I'm like, no. I'm going to be there for field day this year, so buckle up. It's your last year with me. I can't wait to embarrass the crap out of you in front of everybody. I genuinely think that like you embody the people that you work around, and it's so fantastic. Because if I were in her shoes, that would have been my exact same response if an employee came to me with that same ask. And so that was my save of the week. I'm going to field day.
Love it.
We love a good
You should get a dinosaur backpack.
I should. I should dress up as an inflatable dinosaur, and that's how I show up.
Wow. You have plenty of time to order that
I have
online.
plenty of time to order that.
Okay, my save this week, having all boys. It's been a busy week. Brian was traveling. This time of year is insane. And this weekend is Bennett's first communion. And so we were driving home this weekend, Brian and I in the car, actually from Chicago. Rebecca, I should have knocked on his door. Anyway, this weekend we were looking ahead at the calendar. I'm seeing the communion on the calendar, and they have to wear a suit. I was like, okay, do we have a suit? And we had Grayson's from his communion. I was like, okay, here's to hoping that the hand-me-down suit fits, right? And so he tried it on a couple days ago. Sure enough, fits just fine. And I was like, we are locked and loaded. We are prepared. I did not have to scramble and buy him a suit. Thank God for hand-me-downs from Big Brother. So boy mom is tough, but today, delivered.
I love that. I love that.
Valuable.
But like even like the one less thing on your mental load to have to worry about is like it's so valuable to get those wins. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy the suit fit.
Me too.
I can't wait to see the pictures. It's gonna be so cute. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, I know. But now I got to do the haircut.
Oh yeah, we mentioned the last one. All three of her kids need a haircut by tomorrow. Do you have
that
poops?
out?
Do you know how to do it yourself? Like,
We can, and we have. But I mean, this is like a special occasion. I don't know. We might have to go see Miss Tara tonight. She's our barber.
oh, it sounds like she might be your save of next week. So I can't wait to hear about Miss Tara.
Yeah, preemptive. That's a good call.
But I love it.
All right. Well, this has been so amazing. And Rebecca, next time you do some research and you find some stats that are compelling, please come back and tell us more. And look forward to it.
Oh, this is amazing. Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for listening to Full Stack Moms.
We'll be back with more episodes that help you see you're not crazy and you're not alone. If we might be your people, please make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
I had the same shirt on I had on earlier. Mallory, so I had to run upstairs and change it. Sorry.
I did
We
that
recorded
too,
twice
and
today, Rebecca.
Oh. Okay,
Yeah.
Shannon. So this is the year of not apologizing. And so
Great.
thank you for your patience. While I got myself ready to join is the reframe. And I literally am correcting every woman I see because I'm sick of apologizing for shit that doesn't deserve an apology. So
Love
anyway.
that.